Now, there's some breaking input coming in as well. Congress attempts to block the Waqf reform. Congress has moved an adjournment motion. Congress MP Hibi Eden has moved this motion to oppose the presentation of the Waqf Amendment bill that is going to be tabled today. So ahead of that, of course, we heard a lot of criticism. Allegation was that this is not correction but persecution, that the Muslim community is being targeted in the name of reform. Now we're given to understand that Congress MP Hibi Eden has moved an adjournment motion notice to oppose the presentation of the Waqf Amendment bill. The demand of the opposition, specifically of the Congress also, is that the bill be sent to the Standing Committee for more scrutiny. So while the government prepares to table the bill, the opposition also continues to block that move. This time an adjournment motion notice has been given by Congress MP Hibi Eden. We'll also get you more reactions on this. The opposition, remember, has been criticizing the proposal. Opposition is calling it one-sided. They're saying that no discussions, no consultations happened, and this is just a move of the center of the BJP to target the Muslims. Those are the reactions and the criticism that has come in from the opposition. Meanwhile, as far as the bill is concerned, the bill is going to be tabled today. The government is all set to do that. The bill has been opposed by some Muslim organizations and some in the opposition as well. But not just the opposition. Interestingly, some parties within the NDA have also expressed their reservation. Let's in fact go across to Niyamika for more on this. Niyamika, adjournment motion notice by Hibi Eden.
Well, yes, not just the Congress party, but the other opposition parties who are a part of the India bloc are also opposing this move of the central government for bringing in bill to make amendments in the Waqf Board Act. And for that reason, we have also been joined by the IUML MP, E.T. Mohammad Bashir. Sir, what intent do you see behind this move of the government of India? Because many of the opposition leaders have said that they want to oppose this bill when it will be tabled in the Lok Sabha.
We are also going to do the same thing. We are vehemently opposing this, because this piece of legislation is very dangerous and it is ill-motivated. There are many things to say. In brief, what I want to tell you is, this is really, the government is snatching away all the powers of the Waqf Board and the Council. In effect, Board and the Council will remain without even a small power will not left to them. As a simple example, sanctioning, registering a property as Waqf. The present procedure is that they will submit before the board. They will conduct the needful inquiry and things like that. Finally, it is their duty to do so. So, in this act, what it says is, when such an application is coming, the Waqf Board will have to refer that to the collector, and collector is the authority to decide whether that is to be registered or not. Similarly, in this there is a provision. You know that most of the government building in some area, especially even in Delhi, that is really the property of Waqf. This piece of legislation says that if one place under the possession of the government is identified as Waqf land, in that case, they need not be evacuated. That will be treated as government land.
All right, so Niyamika was getting us a live reaction from the IUML leader on the Waqf Amendment bill. We have Ankit joining us in the broadcast. Attempts already have begun to block it. Ankit.
That's what's most interesting, because it's not a case where the bill is tabled and then they will oppose it during the discussion. They want to oppose the very introduction of the bill. It's an attempt to block the reform. I have the adjournment motion notice letter by Hibi Eden, MP of the Congress, to the Secretary General of the Lok Sabha. I give notice of my intention to oppose the introduction of the Waqf Amendment bill under Rule 72 of the Rule of Procedure on the following grounds. I oppose the presentation of the bill titled Waqf Amendment Bill as it is unconstitutional unconstitutional on the following basis. A, conflict with the right to property, that is, the bill can potentially infringe on the property rights of individuals and religious institutions without adequate legal safeguards, violating Article 300A. B, infringement of fundamental right of religious freedoms, that is, the bill's imposition of new conditions for creating Waqf and the requirement for existing Waqfs to register detailed information on a government portal might be perceived as undue interference in the administration of religious endowments. And encroachment on state powers, the bill might encroach upon the powers of the state list as specified in the 7th schedule of the Constitution. Matters concerning religious endowments and Waqf properties typically fall under the purview of state legislation. It's also interesting that the bill hasn't been tabled, but he appears to know all the grounds on which he is going to oppose them and all the provisions. So this is the attempt of the Congress party. They don't want the Waqf reform to even be tabled or discussed.
Right. Ankit, thank you very much for getting us the details of that letter. Hibi Eden has moved this adjournment motion notice to block the reform. Now, the opposition says it's a hasty decision. No consultations, no discussions happened with Muslim organizations, and hence the entire opposition is going to oppose it. You also heard the IUML leader there talking about the opposition opposing the Waqf Amendment bill. My colleague Pranesh is joining us from the Newspit now. Pranesh, the government says this is reform. We are going to end the sweeping powers that have been given to the board to grab any land which belongs to anybody, irrespective of who it belongs to. Now, the opposition says it's a hasty decision because you did not take into account the grievances of the Muslim organizations.
You know, Swati, what Mr. Eden is trying to do is that he's trying to perpetuate a mindset. Now, what is this mindset? This mindset is of blocking a reform. Why do I say it? Because if you see the draft bill and the details that Times Now has accessed, and we've extensively been explaining it to our viewers and to all stakeholders, there is nothing in the proposed draft bill that one can oppose or one could even, tag as discriminatory. In fact, on the other hand, what the proposed amendments seek to do is that it will not just create a level playing field, it will also give more rights to Muslim women, and it will only add inclusivity, transparency and accountability. Let's talk about specifics. Now, 3 things that he's saying, and I'm only adding to what Ankit was saying. He says it is in conflict with right to property, Article 300A. Now, be that as it may, and we are trying to connect to Mr. Vishnu Jain, who will soon be joining us to talk about the 3 objections that have been raised. Let's talk about conflict with right to property. Now, Mr. Eden or those who are opposing the reforms of Waqf have not been thus far able to explain the very fact that the Waqf Act has been abused, misused over the years to state claim on public as well as private property. Now, just, in fact, Vishnu Jain is now joining us, Swati, and, let's speak to him about these 3 objections. Vishnuji, good morning. Hibi Eden, who's a Lok Sabha MP, has written to the Lok Sabha Secretary General. He wants an adjournment motion. He says that the bill should not be tabled. Now, there are 3 reasons he cited. I want you to go over them one by one. He says this is in conflict with right to property, Article 300A.
See, first of all, if you are asking for adjournment motion and arguing on the merits of the bill, both things can't happen together. If you want to debate upon the bill, I think the motion must be presented, and then when the bill is presented, placed before the House, then he can obviously argue so far as the right to property is concerned. But both things can't happen, that you don't present the bill because it is against something. The bill will be presented and it will be debated in the parliament. But to say that the bill should not be presented because it is having certain lacunas itself is, I think, contradictory. Because if there are lacunas, then it is a right of every member of parliament to object and participate in the debate.
But Mr. Jain, on the legality aspect, if you could throw more light, the first point is conflict with right to property. Can you help us understand that? Is this in conflict with that?
See, I think the Waqf Act 1995 is in direct violation of Article 300A. It is against right to property because if you will read the provisions of Section 40, it gives them unbridled and unchecked powers to declare any property as Waqf property. So the certain provisions of Waqf Act which are against the provisions of the Constitution, the present amendment bill is looking at bringing legislative changes so far as those provisions are concerned, be it Section 4, 5 and 6 or Section 40, which are most crucial sections, which are against the provisions of the Constitution, which are against the right to property, because they are giving unchecked and unfettered powers to the Waqf board to declare any property as Waqf property.
Right. In fact, I began by saying that, Vishnuji, the second point that Mr. Eden has raised in his letter to oppose the presentation of the bill, he says that this is infringement of fundamental right of religious freedom, Article 25.
Yes, I believe that the Waqf Act 1995, the way it is today, it is infringing with the fundamental rights of the other sections of the society. If you can see the example of Bet Dwarka, if you can see the example of Surat Municipal Corporation, if you can see the example of Krishna Janmabhoomi, Gyan Vyapi, and many more structures, the Waqf board has usurped its powers. It has misused its powers, which is given under the Waqf Act, and declared such properties as Waqf property. So fundamental right under Article 25 has been violated so far as other sections of the society are concerned.
Now, the third point is encroachment on state powers, 7th schedule. He says the bill might encroach upon the powers of the state list as specified in the 7th schedule of the Constitution. He's not said any word about the unlimited power that the tribunal thus far had enjoyed or enjoys.
See, so far as the state list is concerned, let me tell you that this Waqf Act 1995 and the earlier Act of Waqf Act 1954 has been enacted by the central government. So there is no question of conflict with the list of central or list 1 or list 2. It has been enacted by the central government within its legislative competence, and today the central government is making amendments within its legislative competence.
Okay, Swati, that sums up the 3 points that we wanted Vishnu Jain ji to decode for us. It's a long day for him as also for us, because at 12 is when the bill is set to be tabled in Parliament, and we hope to speak to you later in the day, Vishnu Jain. But Swati, look, the hypocrisy of this section that is opposing reform is coming out. The point that I raised earlier about the unlimited powers and how this act has been misused, not one person is coming out to condemn that. Add to it what the Madhya Pradesh High Court had said, that tomorrow, if the Waqf board wants, it can claim the Taj Mahal or the Red Fort or any other property. In fact, the CEO of the Madhya Pradesh Waqf board has been penalized. It's an important, order that this ecosystem would not want to talk about.
Absolutely, and there are aggrieved parties within the community as well. We played out some reactions, Pranesh. There are people who've been impacted because of this, and the reform would give them more options, legal choice to in fact contest that in High Court.
Absolutely, and we have more reports. We played out a report from Tamil Nadu. We have reports from Mathura. There is a report from Madhya Pradesh. Terror tales. Aplenty, too many. Let's and we'll come to it. But Swati, I just want to say another thing. Look, this has been in the works for a long time now. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, has been holding consultations with different stakeholders. How can it be that only the All India Muslim Personal Board is the custodian of Muslim rights? They don't represent the entire Muslim community. They claim to, but they don't. There are other stakeholders who've spoken out over the last few days, and they say that we welcome the reform. So the likes of Asaduddin Owaisi and the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, whether it was triple talaq or whether it is the Waqf reform, every time the government talks about gender, justice, equality, accountability, what have you, this ecosystem, this lobby brigade, whatever you want to call it, stands up to block it.
Absolutely, and there are several such incidents being reported from all over the country. Let's play out a ground report from Ubli that was filed by Imran.
This quaint ordinary structure behind me is become a big controversy for almost 30 years. This is the Hubli Eidgah Maidan issue, where for almost 30 years over this structure politics has played out. In fact, the earlier attempt to host a national flag on this Eidgah Maidan happened 20 years back, in which a former BJP star leader Uma Bharti was also arrested. Now the Anjuman claims that this property belonged to Waqf, whereas the state state government and the local corporation where the BJP dominates has been claiming that this building belongs to the corporation. In fact, in 2016, the matter even went to the Supreme Court, which settled it, saying that this building, Eidgah, belongs to the corporation and it comes under jurisdiction. They will give 2 times for the permission for the local Muslim community here to pray. Anjuman strongly protested over this, claiming that this is a religious structure, and under controversy also followed up with the celebration of Ganesh Chaturthi and opposite this spot in this entire area.
So, Hibi Eden, Congress MP, has given an adjournment motion notice. On the other hand, we have reactions coming in from Congress leaders. Manikam Tagore says it's a political move. Listen in.
We know that this government works on the base of hate and divisive agenda. This is known. It is in their DNA to divide, to do this kind of arbitrary things. Therefore, only we are asking for the standing committee to study this properly, and we have to take all the India Alliance are together in this thing.
So the opposition has made its stand clear through those reactions, through the adjournment motion notice as well. All eyes will be on Parliament when the bill is tabled. We'll get you all the updates for now. A quick break.